Now, let us quickly introduce you to FSM. What exactly is FSM? So, under the Samarth Udyog Mission, Indian Institute of Technology, IITD, and the Automation Industry Association, they did a collaboration or a kind of a joint venture which is supported by the Department of Heavy Industry and have created a common engineering facility center that supports and develops the technology for the Indian industry and helps with the right understanding and implementation of concepts of smart manufacturing. Now, FSM imbibes technologies from leading companies in Europe, Japan, USA, and India, and offers an integrated experience for prospective users, consultant integrators, and academicians. We have some of our sponsors also who are supporting us in this cause. Next, moving on to what exactly is Samarth Udyog. So the Samarth Udyog stands for Smart Advanced Information Hubs. Samarth Udyog is a national platform created by the Department of Heavy Industry, Government of India, for increasing the competitiveness in the Indian capital goods sector through smart manufacturing. Besides this, the government is also doing a lot of things for us. So currently the government is running an Amrit Mahotsav, which is on the occasion of celebrating 75 years of independence. So Azadi has been launched on March 12 to commemorate 91 years the Dandi March. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav is a series of events organized by the government of India to commemorate the 75th anniversary of independence. The Mahotsav will be celebrated as the people's movement across the country. So a number of activities have been planned under this banner. Next, we come up to the introduction of the honorable speakers. We start with Professor Sunil Shah. Professor Sunil Shah did his PhD in manufacturing science from IIT Kanpur and has been engaged in teaching and research on manufacturing process, computer-aided manufacturing, and industrial automation since last 10 years. He has developed new unconventional super finish processes and has filed 8 patents. Few of them have been successfully commercialized. Before joining IIT Delhi, he worked with Tata Motors Jamshedpur in the area of CAD CAM and has engaged closely in digitization of engine components and foundry tooling development. Currently in the capacity as Director IITD AIA Foundation for Smart Manufacturing, Dr. Jha is closely in manufacturing industry in absorbing new technologies to make them ready for next industrial revolution. Welcome, Dr. Jha, sir.
Good afternoon, Naman. Thank you.
Next we have with us Mr. Vishnu Kumar. He's an automation and IoT engineer, a BTech Mechanical Engineering graduate from the SRM Institute of Science and Technology. He works on converting legacy machines to smart machines, PLC programming, HMI designing, and IIoT platforms. Worked on the various PLC systems, including Rockwell, Siemens, Mitsubishi, Codesys, Schneider, Delta, and Omron, and integrated the same in the Cyber Physical Factory at IIT Delhi. Conducting trainings on smart training kits explaining the various key features of Industry 4 and smart manufacturing is the specialty he possesses. Moving on to our next panelist, Ms. Preeti Joshi, an IIoT and AR engineer at FSM. She's a BTech Mechanical Engineering from GB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology. Works on developing industrial IoT, augmented reality, and computer vision solutions. Extensively worked on ThingWorx, Kepware, Vuforia Studio, Zolt Mobility, and MATLAB image processing. She has been awarded with the Best of the Nations from India IoT in BRICS Future Skills Challenge, involved in designing lab content and quizzes for FSM training programs that can be consumed by academicians and industrialists to enhance their understanding of Industry 4.0 systems. So over to you, Professor Sunil Jha, sir. May I now request you to please take the floor. Yours, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, Naman, for this introduction, and thanks Indo-Euro Synchronization for organizing this event. I saw a lot of students and faculty participating in this event, and I welcome you all for this.
It is our privilege to invite you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And we look forward that next 2 hours will be a fruitful session for both of us. So I will be sharing some of my experiences working with the students and the technologies. And later we have 2 technical talks given by FSM staff, Vishnu Kumar and Preeti Joshi. So let me share my screen to start with this session. Hope my screen will be visible and I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. So I will be spending another 30 minutes sharing with you the future skills for industrial automation and smart manufacturing, which is an emerging domain of technology. We all are familiar with mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, communication, computer science. There are so many streams around, but if we see the industry perspective, we are looking forward for more solutions. The engineering should be, or the technology should be molded to implement those solutions. So I will be just briefing you about the new domain of industrial automation and smart manufacturing, how they are emerging today. So let me quickly brief about the product development cycle, because those who are not from the mechanical engineering backgrounds, just in a quick glimpse how products being manufactured, what are the stages involved in manufacturing any product. So if you see here, we always start the product manufacturing with the basic customer requirements being captured. This is how the manufacturing organization is supposed to work. So after capturing the inputs from the customer, the product concept is being designed, built upon, then there are design calculations, simulations being done using computer aided engineering tools. So after the design engineering is finished, the manufacturing drawings are being released. And I'm sure that all of you gone through the first year of manufacturing workshop experiences. So you have to do all these design and manufacturing drawings creation. So after the drawings being created, you will be taking this for the planning. So even all organization has to plan, because they have a limited resources in terms of the machines, in terms of the people. So they have to schedule. So, and whatever is required to manufacture that particular part should also be planned. So whether I require tooling, whether I require additional jigs and fixtures, all that process planning, the production planning should be done at this stage. So that is how we call it in a production planning. And once planning is done, then it will be taken up for the manufacturing. Then we will be utilizing the actual machines and equipments to convert a raw material into a finished product. And during the production, we would like to exercise the quality control, because we need that it should be as per the specification expected by the customer. So quality control is a very important aspect of manufacturing. And after that, the product is being ready, it's ready for dispatch to the customer. Just a quick overview of this product life cycle that is to be followed for all products in the market today. So now in this cycle, we need to understand the various time components, because that is very critical from the standpoint of the manufacturing. So if you see that the T1 is the time that is being spent actually on the product. So if you are doing machining, if you are doing welding, if you are doing assembly operations, all that is covered in the T1 time spent on each product. But that is not the only time spent on each product. You need to spend time in planning for the production. So T2 is the time used for planning for the production. And T3 is the time that you will be spending one time doing all the design engineering, generating the manufacturing drawing. So if you are designing a product and that is being replicated in 1 lakh or even more numbers every day, you will be doing T3 activity only once, because the design has to happen only for once. Then T2 will be done for every batch of the production. So every shift of the production, you will be doing the planning activities. So every batch requires the T2 to be spent upon. And T1 is the individual time that has been spent on each product. So now understanding these 3 points is very important from the understanding of the industrial automation as well as the smart manufacturing technologies. So goal is basically to reduce all the 3 time elements, which I have highlighted over here, T1, T2, T3. We all want to reduce as low as possible, because we want to make as many as possible. So what is the maximum productivity possible that, so we would like to reduce all the 3 time components. When we talk about the automation technologies, as you may be familiar about, the technologies which are finally reducing the time spent on each product, that is what we are classifying right now in automation technologies. So we will be putting more emphasis on the time T1, which is being spent on each product during the manufacturing. So the technologies like pneumatics, electro-pneumatics, PLCs, all are basically deployed on the machines, assembly line, shop floor, mainly to reduce the time T1. Now, when we talk about the smart manufacturing, because that's a new area that is coming up, we will be using technologies mainly for reducing the planning time and the design time, because we are looking forward that each product is designed for one unique customer and maybe very limited number, maybe one itself. So one would be delivered to one customer, that's all. It means that you will be designing a customized product, you will be planning the production, the manufacturing of that product, and then you will be making that product. So in that case, when the numbers are not large, the time that you will be spending on design will not be shared by other products. So then it is very critical here. So in smart manufacturing, we are always concerned about the time T2 and T3, because if I spend time of 2 months in designing a product, yeah, if I'm going to make only one actually, then the cost is very high, because whatever resources you spend in 2 months will not be accounted on one product itself. So that is the reason we look forward for the technologies that will help us in reducing the design time, production planning time, so we can even have more real-time monitoring of the production system. So these are the areas where we are focusing on in the domain of smart manufacturing. So let me just give you a quick glimpse how the technology is being evolved, because I know that many of you are so fascinated with your own discipline that you just want to focus on that area. And that the topics and the domain I'm going to address today is more interdisciplinary area. So let's try to understand, because this is one of the machine, all of us have done the hands-on this machine. That's a lathe machine in the workshop. So the basic engineering or basic technology that is being used in the lathe machine is the metal cutting process, the metal cutting mechanics. It means that how you are cutting the metal from a cylindrical piece using a cutting tool, and you are giving certain motions basically to the cutting tool as well as the workpiece to generate the shape. So that is the basic understanding of the metal cutting mechanics. You need to know the mathematics, you need to know physics in this case, and then you will be knowing engineering, basically how we can accomplish this. So people have designed an equipment like this, where they are able to give these motions to these parts. So the spindle can hold the workpiece and it will be able to rotate it. Then we will be having a cross slide as well as the carriage, which will be giving the depth of cut as well as the feed. So that way people have designed a mechanical system over here. So this is how the mechanical machines being designed and how the concept of mechanical machines being evolved. So now once we have this machine, we need to have some power which will rotate the spindle, because rest of the motions are being given by manual means only. So in this case, earlier people used to drive the shafts through the steam engines, and they will be rotating this spindle of the machine, and they will be able to accomplish the job. So in this scenario, if you see that only the understanding of the basic physics, mathematics, as well as the mechanical engineering is good enough to run this machine. So that is the scenario when the first time people have developed this lathe machines and they are able to do the metal cutting operations. But now if you see that as the innovation happens, as the technology get developed, we have replaced the rotation part here, how this rotation is being generated. So these are the different motions are required on this lathe machine. So next generation machines comes out like this, where we have utilized the metal to make this machine itself. So this machine is produced by casting and machining itself. But the changes that happen, because the basic mechanical system engineering remains same, you have to deal with the metal cutting mechanics because understanding of the same is required. But only one change has happened. We have introduced an electrical system into this machine, and that electrical system is an induction motor. So people have used this AC induction motor because by that time the advent of electricity has happened. So individual machine get a source of power to drive the spindle. Earlier there was only one steam engine or two steam engine driving the multiple machines together. So in this case, when the AC induction motor is being introduced into this machine, people have to understand the basic electrical engineering so that they will be able to control the speed, they will be able to make the motor on and off. So that's how the electrical engineering get into this. And we are able to produce the mechanically coordinated motion, because the motion are still being generated by movement of the carriage and the cross slide in this case. Now, to make this kind of a system and to make these parts out of this machine, the kind of skills required. So now I'm just talking about the skills required over here. So as we have seen that the skills are required to design machine. So you need to know the mechanical element design, mechanical system design, what the different type of motion converting mechanisms are there. So lead screw is there, the gears are there, belt pulley drives are there. So you need to know the basic mechanical engineering design over here. Then after that, you also know the technology to manufacture this machine. So there are many manufacturing processes being involved in this machine. So certainly metal cutting is one, the metal forming is there, metal casting is there. So there are few the manufacturing processes are involved. So people have to build a know-how and knowledge about those manufacturing processes as well. The third skill required here is the skill to operate a machine. So normally the operator has to learn how much depth of cut is required, how he will be giving that depth of cut, how he will be giving the motion to the carriage to generate the feed. So uniformity in that feed motion will be reflected back into the product quality. So these are the kind of skills are required to use these machines. Again, this era is gone. People have already migrated from this kind of machines to an advanced machine today. And these are some of the machines you might have seen also, which are more computer controlled, because again, it's very important art, or I should say the skill that you need to maintain a uniform cutting on the workpiece to generate a good finish on the part, maintain the dimensioning accuracy. So it's all, lot of things will be depending on the operator there. So after the computing system has been developed, so we see that these kind of machine tools are there now in existence. So you see that all the motions are being controlled electronically in this case. So block diagram that I've shown below, people have to build a know-how and understanding about the human machine interfaces, like this console has been shown. It's a touch screen, LCDs are being shown with the push buttons, the various knobs are there. Then there's a backend controller which will be taking care of the motion control part. So motion controller is there. So it's almost like a processor running in this control system, which will be taking care of the calculations required to produce a coordinated motion. Then you have actuators in form of motors over here. So then drives are required to run these motors. Finally, the mechanical transmission mechanisms, and you will be requiring some feedback mechanism to go back to the motion control. So you see the complexity of the whole machine tool is being increasing day by day. And this kind of a machine tool certainly require the understanding about the mechanical systems. It requires understanding of the electrical systems, because electrical actuators are being involved over here. And a lot of computing systems are being used over here. So that's a knowledge of computing system is also required. So in this case, you see the knowledge of all three systems are important as you go along and building such complex machines and machine tools and integrating the technology on the manufacturing shop floor. It's very important to build the understanding on these the technology domains. Someone has raised the hand, so I will take up the question after my session is complete. So please keep your questions with you, or either you can post them on the chat section. We will take them up. So in this case, idea is that to give you a glimpse how the equipment, how the complex, the technology systems are being built for the manufacturing implementation. So if we are confining ourselves to understanding of only one of the basic streams of engineering, we may not be able to take the advantages of these new developments. Certainly the core understanding is required, but on top of that, you have to basically learn these additional technologies, and you need to integrate these building blocks together to build the systems. And that is what people are looking forward in the manufacturing domain. Now, today we are looking forward for the similar kind of lathe machine, which I've shown you, but that will no more remain as the conventional lathe machine. We would like to make it a smart machine. So with the addition of new sensors, new control systems into this machine, we look forward that we will be able to monitor the product quality. Now, when someone is operating this machine, as you have done in your workshop also, it's very difficult for an instructor to come and see every time that how you are doing the cutting operations, and the job that you produced finally will not end up you in getting good marks. So finally the instructor come and give you 4 out of 10 because he saw that there are a lot of cutting marks appearing on the job, the dimensions are not maintained properly. So these kind of scenarios are there in the industry also. Whenever a new operator comes and operate this machine, there's a possibility that he may not be able to maintain those cutting conditions. So in that case, how we can monitor the product quality on the same machine. So we will be using sensors and the other technologies over here. Another thing we will be adding, how we will be able to monitor the machine health also, because there are certain breakdown that can happen into this machine. And whenever this kind of machine is a critical machine, we may not be able to afford the breakdowns on this machine. And we would like to generate some kind of an operator guidance for a person to take care of that. The way you see that there's a dashboard in your car itself, and you see indication that this is not running at an optimum speed or optimum gear, you need to shift that. So same kind of guidance can be given to the operator. So we need to implement systems to do the monitoring of all these variables over here. So we will be integrating the vibration sensors. We will be integrating sensors to capture the rotation of the spindle. And then we will be integrating the industrial controller to this machine, so that through industrial controller and then IoT gateway, I will be able to take the data out of this machine and will be able to analyze that data using the technologies available today, like machine learning and doing analytics, so that I can generate the response which will help us in maintaining the product quality, preventing the unprecedented breakdown of this machine tool, and also be able to generate the operator guidance. So these are the kind of sharing that we can do. So we can think of a dashboard which will be guiding people to monitor this dashboard, and they will be able to control the process parameters to generate a good quality product. So we look forward for the conversion of these kind of machine tools into a smart machine tools, and that is the demand of the technology today. If you see this slide, which is a very good projection for the next 5 years, because all of you are going to graduate and will be going to the industry. So this is a one good study being done by PwC, which is about the digital factories 2020. So they have done the study in 2020. That's how they have generated this report. Which are the technologies that are shaping the future of manufacturing? So in that case, if you see the technologies that are being listed over here, they are not being into your curriculum today. So if you talk about the predictive maintenance, the big data driven processes, process visualizations, connected factory, some of you might not have even heard about these terminologies as well. The digital twin of the product, the factory, the autonomous logistics, flexible production methods. But if you see that this projection is very important for all of us to understand as a teacher and a student. So these are the technologies that are going to play a role in the manufacturing. So, and if you see here, the projection has been made for next 5 years, which are the technologies going to leapfrog most. So if you see the technology like predictive maintenance is going to leapfrog from 28% to 66% in the industry. So unless we are not prepared for these technologies and understanding of these technologies, we will be lagging behind. So that's an important inference we can make out of this slide. So at FSM, we are already following certain learning paths. So in fact, to make people from various disciplines to aware about these new technologies, you need to start learning basic automation, the basics of the smart manufacturing. Then certainly you need to increase your learning toward the industrial IoT, the augmented reality, and subsequently to the topics like machine learning. And we will be also dealing with a subject on smart sensing, robotics, the manufacturing analytics, and the additive manufacturing. So these are the various key technologies which people have to learn today to get themselves ready for the next generation of the requirement for the smart manufacturing. Now, how we can do this? So we are already implementing certain course structure where we will be training people from industry, from academia to understand these subjects, because as I have mentioned that none of these subjects are basically covered in the core engineering learning these days. So you need to spend additional time to catch hold of these new learnings to understand the basics of the smart manufacturing and the implementation of the smart manufacturing, the new technologies of the industrial internet of things, the augmented reality, how it can help in manufacturing, how we can implement the machine learning in manufacturing, because some of you may have an interest in learning Python and the data science, but then how that can be applied to the manufacturing scenarios and how the robotic applications can be done in the manufacturing. So we are conducting some of the training program on this. So this is the ongoing program we had right now. So we are taking one complete course for a month, and we will be training people for 32 hours to do more deep dwelling into these technologies. So once they go through these 5 courses, they will be at least be ready to some extent to implement these learnings on the smart manufacturing. So we will be converting this into the core courses as well as the elective courses. So first 2 courses are important and which are to be learned by everyone, the implementation of the smart manufacturing and the industrial IoT. And subsequently, based on your interest, you can take up the AR, the machine learning and robotics as additional learning here. The approach that we are following is the live sessions like this, what we are conducting right now. So we will be taking some live sessions, interacting with the participants. giving lot of learning on the e-learning platform that we have right now. The FSM Skills is the platform. We are giving live demonstrations to the people from our lab. So our own people staying in the lab, they will be giving the live demonstration of the facility that we had. We are conducting a lot of remote lab sessions. In fact, the morning itself, we conducted the live lab sessions remotely on this hardware that we have created for this learning. Then there is a dedicated project where you will be spending time in converting the learning in this fashion into the actual project, which you can identify it by understanding from the industry. And there are a lot of evaluation components. So that's how we are blending the overall learning experience. Certainly, in the last 1 year, you also gone through this kind of, because we are mostly in the remote learning mode, but we are trying to use technology itself to enable this learning happen. So this foundation, Naman has already briefed about. So we are basically in a consortium, or I should say the foundation where the industry are working together with us with the various discipline at IIT Delhi. So we are trying to bring out these disciplines together and the state-of-art technologies available together to imbibe this kind of a learning to the students and the faculty as well as the people from industry. So this is the complete domain of the technologies that need to be learned. So from wherever you will start, you have to catch hold of these keywords which are being shown on this slide. You need to do a little bit hands-on in understanding these technologies so that you will be ready and get familiar with this technology for the implementation in the industry. So these are some of the lab facilities we have created at IIT Delhi, where we will be experimenting with all these technologies which I have shown in the previous slide. We are implementing these technologies with the help of the engineers in the FSM lab. And in fact, the Preeti and Vishnu, they have learned a lot while doing a lot of experiments and implementation in this lab itself. So this is one of our cyber physical assembly line at IIT Delhi in the FSM lab, where we have implemented the automation, we have implemented the robotic systems as well. And we are able to demonstrate the complete product assembly line here with the help of the technologies which are implemented in the cyber physical domain. We also build this kind of a remote training systems, which we are using today to conduct these live sessions, through which people are able to do experiments without owning this hardware. So they will be connecting to these kits remotely. They are learning the state-of-art industrial hardware, and they will be doing experiments and implementation, which is very much required for today's learning in the domain of industrial automation as well as the smart manufacturing implementation. This is another factory we are going to create with our own workshops. So similar infrastructure is available in your labs also. So how we will be connecting the multiple machines with the different hardware into them, maybe the CNC control, maybe the conventional lathe machines with the robotic systems, and similar to this mobile robotic platform and the cobotic systems, how they can do the material handling from one machine to another machine. So you need to learn all these technologies for the implementation in the lab. Or right now we are doing this implementation in the lab, so to make it a demonstrable smart factory concept. And similar learning that industry can take from here, the students can learn from here, and they will be a useful resource for the implementation of these technologies. So we design all these robotic systems in FSM lab. So engineers get involved, they design these systems. We get these systems manufactured, they program these systems so that they will be operating in such a fashion, they will be implementing the complete assembly line in this robotic cell. So that's one of the examples. So we design all these systems, subsystems, integrating the various sensors there, integrating the IIoT, integrating the various tool changes to accomplish these functionalities. That is how the whole technology can be put together to build these kind of the systems for the manufacturing. We are also building another robotic systems over here with the welding cell. So we have designed the whole system. We are integrating right now the programmable logic controllers with the various robot controllers. How the product programming environment being used together here to generate an offline programming and finally make it happen through the cyber physical integration. So these are all technologies we are experimenting right now in FSM and we are implementing over it. So this is the design that we have made for the system, and then right now we are converting and executing this design. So maybe in sometimes another session we will explain more on the robotics implementation. So that is a quick overview of the activities that we are doing at FSM. And I would be leaving the technical discussions for the two speakers aligned for today. So they both have started their journey in the FSM. They learned and all these technologies while implementing, and they are now capable to at least share their experience of the learning, what they have gone through with all of you today. So thank you so much for the patient listening. Any quick question on my slides? I think some of you are raising hands, so I can take up them, and rest of the questions being taken by the attendees later on. So I don't see any question on the chat as such. Q&A, let me. Yeah, so you are asking about can you give training on the task for new engineering? Certainly, we are giving all these training to the interested students. So anyone who is after the second year will be more capable to absorb these technologies once they have gone through their basic engineering learning. We will be looking forward for such passionate engineers to work with us. We may be offering some internship positions in the summer to work upon. So they will be working along with our own FSM people, and then developing some of these technologies together. So they will be learning, and they will be also implementing some of the projects in the FSM. So the kind of a short programs that I have shown earlier in my slide, so those kind of 1 month courses can be taken up by the interested students, and they may certainly upgrade their learning wherever they are today to these new technology developments which are available right now in FSM, and we are giving quite an in-depth training for the students, as well as even the faculty members are also there. So for the internship, certainly I will share those inputs to the Indo-Euro synchronization. They may pass on this, but it's really a very stringent procedure. You need to learn through our online webinars. You have to go through the understanding of the basic technologies, and we will be taking an entrance test for the same. So without that, we will not be considering for the training internship. So you have to go through that basic steps of absorption here in the FSM. So you need to show that passion, then you will certainly be in once you have that capabilities. And most of these people are coming from the various engineering institutions only. So I consider everyone at par. So in fact, the students who graduated from IIT are also working with us in the lab, and people who joined from other engineering institutions are also participating with us. The good thing is that many engineering faculty members joined with us. So they are also being part of this learning program. So whatever I have shown this 5-6 months of the program structure, some of these faculties are spending a lot of time and energy apart from their regular activities in the institutions these days. They'll also be a part of this learning process. So I look forward that few more faculty members should get trained, and then they will be involving the student towards this learning. So I think that's all from my side. We are already at 2:38. So I will request S. Vishnu Kumar to continue with his session. Over to you, Vishnu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Everyone, good afternoon. I'll just quickly share my screen and then we'll start the presentation. So I guess it's visible now.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, Vishnu, it is visible. You can.
Yeah. So starting off with the presentation, my first question will be, what is IoT? So IoT is the Internet of Things. So basically a thing with some sensors or instruments connected physically with the computational computer, and as a internet connection is said to be an IoT device. For example, if I have some electronic appliances or any device which can be having or consisting of any computational computer. In this case, we can have a microcontroller or a Raspberry Pi or any kind of industrial controller. And then when it is connected with the internet connection, then it is said to be the IoT device. So here I would like to give an example, like say if you have a refrigerator and some of the sensors are mounted onto it. Say for example, in a butter tray, I have connected one sensor, and then the sensor is sensing the level of the butter available in my fridge. So suppose if the butter is getting low, the sensor gets triggered, and the microcontroller will be able to catch those data from the sensor, and it will be informing me through the internet over a mobile device or something, that saying that the butter is now low. Please find a way to buy and then replace it. So that kind of IoT can be done. Moving on with this, we'll just have a quick poll on a question. I'll just post a question for you guys, so you all can now choose one option. I'll give 30 seconds so you can read the question and then answer it. Ten seconds more. Okay, so now I'll just display the poll results. So some of you, like 69% of people, 43 students or participants have chosen the answer all of the above, which is the correct answer, by the way. So I'll just show this one. This is the all of the above is the answer. So an operator can also be said to be a thing in case of IoT, because he is the one who is driving the data, or he is the one who is actually controlling. So for example, if I have any RFID system and the person is logging in, I can able to find what is the user ID and all the information about him. So it is also considered as an IoT. So continuing further, Internet of Things is a network of devices connected together for exchange of data and information. What are the three different components that we require for an implementation of an IoT is, one is the thing, which is the device, and then the internet connection and the data. So using which we will be sharing with one another device and communicating. So the features of this is to connect, collaborate and interact with each device and exchange the meaningful data with one another. So by doing this IoT implementation, one is you are reducing the human intervention by automating things. And then once automation has happened, you are having the control over it remotely. So you need not have to be physically be present in the physical place to control things. You can control the system in any part of the world. So that is how it is. So we will just post one more poll. So which of the following can be an IoT device? A pen, a couch, a lamp, all of the above. So this is just taking some polls, like finding the understanding of IoT that you guys have. Nothing wrong or right in this one. Feel free to poll. So in this question, like 47 participants have told that all of the above is the answer. So yes, absolutely, the all of the above is the answer. So if you can see now, I'll just show it in the PPT as well. So what is a smart connected thing is basically a device. We are saying that it has some internet connectivity, is said to be an IoT device, but a device should also possess some characteristics with it. So smart device, we can say, should possess awareness, action, and it should be automatic. Awareness in the sense I can connect some sensor to get the real-time data or the conditions or the varying environment, I can capture it. And by action, it has to communicate with the user or the end customer so that it get to know that what is happening with the system. And then autonomy is basically to have the capability to take decision by itself. So this is being called smart. And connected is means of a system is being connected with the second system or any other system using some connectivity like say Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or Zigbee. So using this connected can be established between one system to the other. And then last thing is the thing. We here refer to the thing as a computer or a human or any building with some intelligent feature in it, or a database or a robot, or even some kind of smart bag or something. So we will have one more poll here. My watch displays the weather downloaded from the internet. My watch is an IoT device, whether it's a true or false. You have 15 seconds left. I'm just sharing the results. About like 74 people have said true. So that is the answer. So the device is now connected to the internet and it is fetching some data to me. So it is obviously a IoT device. So what kind of an application that you can get from an IoT? So you can build a smart home where you can control your fan, lights, and then air conditioners by taking those data, and remotely you can have using a web page or a smart device, you can have a on-off control. And then smart city, you can build it with reducing the traffic congestion by putting some cameras to the system, and then energy efficient buildings can be built, and then public safety can be increased. So apart from this, we also have an industrial Internet of Things where we tend to use these platform for optimizing the processes and then reduce the cycle time, have a good quality over the final product, and then have a track for the inventory. So if I want to have the record of raw material and the final product, I can have this kinds of platform where I can store these data and use it for like inventory purpose. Apart from this, we are also using this IoT platform in smart healthcare services, where we will be getting the real-time data of a patient, and then devices get smarter, and then putting some analyticals over individual to find out and diagnosis the problem he or she has. So moving on to IIoT, what is IIoT basically? Before that, we will have a poll here. So what is the full form of IIoT? I guess everyone will be getting it right, because the one thing that is you can score is here only because it is all about it. 15 seconds remaining. Those who are not polled can be now polled. Okay. So like 55% of people said the industrial Internet of Things, which is correct answer. So earlier also I have explained this. So it is the correct answer. So moving towards the industrial Internet of Things, it is an extension of IoT used for basically industrial purposes such as manufacturing product or supply chain monitor, and then management system. So I'd like to give one example. Say suppose we have a machine and a controller or a industrial grade controller is being integrated to that particular machine, and then it is communicating with my edge gateway. So I'll go on this protocol and other things later in my slides, but just to give you overview, I'm just mentioning it through an example. I have a machine and the controller is integrated to it, and then I am communicating whatever the sensors and actuators data coming out from my PLC to this edge gateway. From edge gateway, it is communicating with my cloud through some protocols or through some language. And then I am using my edge device, which is basically the smartphones or tabs, iPads, everything, and then accessing those data and seeing through some GUI, graphical user interface. So the idea here is to get the meaningful output from the machine. So for that purpose, it is said to be an industrial Internet of Things. So what is the basic difference between an IoT and IIoT? The area of focus here in case of IoT, it is more towards the consumer and commercial convenience, whereas in case of industrial Internet of Things, it is more of like monitoring and management in any industry. So focus here is like smart devices basically, and in case of IIoT, it is sophisticated machines. And then interoperability is like functionally independent, and it is depend upon the end user who is using it. Whereas in case of an IIoT, legacy operations and every systems are integrated together, and then every value is being recorded. So scalability in case of IoT, it is very used in a low scale, whereas in case of IoT, it is used in large scale. And the accuracy here is critically monitored. Say, for example, if you want to control the air conditioner, then in that case, you will be choosing some kind of data like whether I have to have on and off control or whether I have to have temperature control. So here the accuracy is critically monitored, but in case of IoT, the every data is important. So every data can be meaningful, and it can be delivering some kind of downtime or production rate may affect. So everything is synchronized to milliseconds here. So everything is being recorded. So the output is again depend upon the user convenience, he can be choosing it. Whereas in case of IoT, it is actually the economic growth of a nation. So if I have an industry, I have to look for the economic growth as well. So maintenance not actually required in case of IoT, whether you might do or you might not do. But in case of IoT, it is scheduled and organized in such a way that everything happens in a routine. And then I would like to give a more glimpse on this communication architecture, because since everyone is student, and if you are not aware of these kinds of protocols, then entering into industry will create some kind of a gap. So you guys have to understand that machine communication, how it is happening with peripheral devices, and how the controller is now communicating with the other platforms. So basically here we have Ethernet IP, Modbus RTU, Modbus TCP, Profinet, CAN-open, CC-Link, generic Ethernet, EtherCAT, PowerLink. These are the different protocols used in industrial grade controllers. Each comes with its own proprietary. So with that, it will be communicating with the other devices to which it is connected. From there, PLC and as its own industrial protocol, so which will be communicating to a gateway, or here we can say a connectivity platform. Like in case of IoT, we can have some kind of software. So using that, you can communicate the controller data to this particular platform, and then from there you can push the data to cloud using any one of the protocols like OPC-UA or MQTT. OPC-UA is a standard protocol, open protocol communication united architecture. So here this one works as a server client basis. So server will be my controller, it will be giving the data, and the client will be like any kind of language, you can say like Python, Java, C, C++, etc. So using that, you can connect with this cloud and push the data, and then once it is available in the cloud, you can use any one web services and create some dashboards around it, and then you can visualize it in your smart devices. Similarly, MQTT is also one of the protocol used for communicating with the cloud. So MQTT works on subscribe and publish basis. So if I subscribe to a particular tag, then when it gets triggered, it will be publishing value. So that can be used to push it to the cloud and then show in a smart device. So moving further, as Jasar has explained you about cyber physical factory. So one of our project is now going on this particular thing. We have separated into three phases. So first phases consist of like 5 machines. What we are trying to achieve here is like we are having some barcode attached to each raw material, so to have the track of inventory, and AGV is used for a transportation from one place to the another. So here, depending upon the customer's requirement, a number of machines will be allocated and made available. Depending upon the priority, AGV will be moving and giving the raw material to the particular machine. Once machining is done and it enables a trigger, which will be used for the AGV, which will get enabled and again goes back to that machine and collects the final product out of it, and it moves on to the next machine, and so on, so on. So once the complete product is being manufactured, it will be sent to the inspection system, where we will be using some smart devices like vernier, digital verniers with some connectivity. And then we can also record some kind of other parameters like roughness measurement. So to get the final product result, and then depending upon the tolerance, we will be accepting it or rejecting it. Once accepted, it will be sent to the assembly of parts if required. And then in case of casting, we are also having some kind of vision-based inline inspection, where we will be finding is there any defect is going on in the casting process or not. And if required, we will be using a welding robotic cell to two robots are there. Basic one is for welding and the other one is for material handling. So using those kinds of cell, we will be welding the product, and then once the final product is achieved and it is acceptable, it will be sent to the packaging and dispatched. So the idea here is why I am explaining this whole process is the main thing that you will be requiring here is data. So one machine, if it says I have completed, the AGV should understand that I have now have to go to that particular station and collect that part. So this data connectivity comes only through IIoT platforms. So machine cannot be independently communicating with other machines. So machine to machine communication is established through IIoT platform here. So I would like to like say, for example, I would like to narrow down and show you that a smart lathe machine, how we are integrating it. So basically a lathe machine is there here, which is completely manual. It is a conventional machine to which we have related all these kinds of sensors like inductive sensors, displacement analog sensors, vibration sensors, temperature sensors, everything connected to this particular controller, GOC43, PLC, and HMI. So here the data is being collected in real time, which will be communicating through one of the communication protocol that I mentioned is Modbus TCP. So it will be connected to a network switch. From there, I can connect to my PC where my IIoT platform is available, and then I will connect with this particular controller by being in the same network, and then use those data and then build some dashboards or make reports or alert notification, etc. So this is basically to give an overview of how the communication between a controller and the IIoT platform is being done. So moving further, how we have implemented this smart lathe machine is once the PLC communicating with the field devices and getting the raw data, it is communicating through a Modbus TCP protocol, industrial protocol, and it is being used to communicate with the software called KEPServerX, which is a ThingWorx platform, uses some kind of connectivity between. So we have used this particular software, and we are getting the data from the PLC. Once I got the data, we are approaching two ways here. One is to have a SCADA system. So SCADA system, those who are not aware of, it is basically monitoring two or more PLC. You can say in layman terms. So once the Kepler has given the data, it will be sent to this MES through some communication between, and then where you can get the data and use some logics there also, and then build some dashboards to see the data about the PLC or the machine. So for example, if I want to have a quality control or overall effectiveness of the equipment, then I can use these kinds of dashboards and show them like live real data showing the performance of the machine. So one way is to push the data from here to SCADA and then show it. Another way is to like the MES system may not be available for everyone. So a particular person who is authorized can use it and have the dashboard overview. But in case of making it a normal person or a student, we have also getting this data from the KEPServer and pushing it to the ThingWorx platform, which is an IIoT platform, and storing it in the database. Further, we will be creating from there augmented reality feature for guiding what is going on in the smart lathe machine or for maintenance purposes. And then also we will be using some mobile application to see live orders. For example, if a customer is placing some order, then how it is being like processed throughout the machine process. That will be demonstrated through this mobile application. So this is the Kepler icon. Apart from this, so here, if you can see, this machine is hardwired with these kinds of sensors, RFID system, energy meter, and then these are communicating serially to my controller. From there, I have a Modbus control communication to communicate with my SCADA system. And this is the exact layer where you can get the IIoT platform. Till here, the controller getting the data, you can say like operational technology. And from pushing the data from a controller to a SCADA system, you can say that IIoT platform comes into a picture. And then if we are using to make some analytics over it, you can say that is as an information technology. So the main purpose of using IIoT platform is to bind the OT and IT technology together. And then what kind of features does IoT support? So some of you might now have some doubts, like you're saying dashboards and then reports and all. So what kind of features I can expect from an IoT? So basically you have a connectivity between machines, and then between machines and the IoT platform. The second is the production monitoring, and third one is machine to machine communication, alarms and notifications. You can use ML models to predict what is going on in the machine using some raw data or data sets. And then you can schedule a particular machine availability by saying 9 to 10 or 9 to 5. You can schedule the operations using IoT platforms, and anyone in that same network can access those data and do some kind of malpractice or something. So to avoid that, we are securing it through IoT platform. It is secured, unauthorized person will not have the access. And then data logger is used for logging the data with respect to the timestamp, how it is happened and when it is happened, and because of what reason it is happening. Anything can be logged here. And then dashboards can be used to see the overview of the machine. REST APIs is basically a web services to create some interactive applications and show it in the devices or websites. And then the most important thing is the augmented reality, where you can like post, you can just post the digital information on the real life, real world. So in order to understand in more detail where the IIoT origins and where it is terminating, so I would like to give this example. Like I have a number of machines here, one of which is lathe machine, one is CNC, and then I also have a robot here. It is communicating through some industrial protocol with the gateway or any connectivity platform in between, which is IIoT is being accessing those data. So it is like you can say a access network. And then once the data is extracted from that edge tier, we will be using reports and dashboards to get the meaningful data out of it. And then we can also store it in a database and do some analytics over it. And then we can build some algorithms to predictive maintenance or some kind of expert maintenance system we can have it. So once this IoT layer, we have done some useful things, which can be again given to some kind of business models or kinds of reports can be dated for the enterprise level, so that they can see and make decisions according to the actual production that is going on. So we will have a quick poll here. I'll just post this question. From the understanding of the last PPT, IIoT data is extracted from Dash. You have like 25 seconds more. Ten seconds. Okay, I'm stopping it. So as I expected, answer all of the above, which is not actually the correct one, because the IIoT data is extracted from the edge tier. It is not in the platform or enterprise level. So it is the data is being extracted from the edge tier, and then the data is used. The extraction is basically happening in case of edge tier only. I'll just show it in. Sorry, kind of misplaced it. Actually, the edge tier is the answer. So now with this understanding, some of you might be interested or excited to do more hands-on on these kinds of platforms. So for you guys, open source is available, like Thingsboard, which is a platform used from PTC. They are in some kind of free open source for connecting devices and do some IoT features to it. So here they have given some example for smart farming overview. They have used some smart sensors like with connectivity like Bluetooth or Zigbee, etc. And they are communicating it to the gateway. And from there, they are using the Thingsboard. And then the Thingsboard can be made some kind of real-time dashboards or reports and then generated to the end user. One way is to approach by means of gateway, and the other one is through HTTP or MQTT. Directly you can connect with the Thingsboard, and then you can do some analytics, and then you can show it in the form of dashboards. So one is this Thingsboard, and the other one is KAA project. So KAA IoT is the name. Actually, they are also giving some kinds of 5 devices to be connected for free. After which, if you want to connect, then a pay per device will be imposed on. So you use these for final year projects or something to make some IoT implementation. Apart from this, we are also having some commercial IoT platforms like licensed version. So in ThinkWorks, we actually use it widely in our facility. So this ThinkWorks is a platform where you will be using the IoT platform to connect with the devices, and then we'll be getting the data, and we will be doing some analytics or dashboards, and then showing some meaningful output from that. So you can, some of the modules in this ThinkWorks is also for free, and some works like 2 hours per time. So you can use that one. Apart from this, we also have an MindSphere platform, which is a Siemens platform basically. Nowadays, IoT is becoming a trend. So everyone has started to build some platforms now. So they are also having some kinds of IoT platform, industrial IoT platform. They are also giving some solutions like AI, ML, and then H2 cloud connectivity, and then monitoring, production monitoring, everything, and then quality products also. So you can try it out if the college is able to buy these kinds of platforms, then you can have these kinds of experience also. So apart from this, we also have web-based IoT platforms where you can just connect with the language, and then you can push the data to the cloud and see, or create some web pages and visualize the data that you have built it in the application. So this one is basically the Amazon Web Services, and then Google Cloud is there, IBM Cloud, Azure, Oracle, and Cisco. So I would like to wind up my presentation here with a note that guys, you can try with IoT platforms and implement some kind of application which can renovate or evolve the industry currently being used in India. So thank you. Hope this was useful. Over to you, Preeti ma'am.
Thank you, Vishnu. Let me just share my screen. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Preeti, and in this session, I'll be making you familiar with the augmented reality technology. Let me walk you through the scope of this session. We'll start by learning about augmented reality or AR. How is it different from virtual reality? What are the key capabilities of an AR system and how it can make our work easy? Then we will take a look at how various industries are utilizing augmented reality and understand the ways in which AR experience can be accessed by a user. Some of the live demonstrations will also be presented to you during the session. So let's begin with what is augmented reality. It is a technology using which we can enhance a real physical world with digital content. Basically, we are adding information to real objects in order to understand them better, or just to add a digital object to our surroundings to inspect how well it can fit in a real world. You might have come across this technology in messaging apps like Snapchat or in Lenskart e-commerce app, where you can verify which product suits your face the best. Let's look at some of the examples of AR. Hello, is there an issue?
No, ma'am, you can continue, please.
So let's look at some of the examples of AR. Here, AR is used to visualize the CAD design of the chassis of a car to inspect the various concepts. Now, this is a snapshot of the popular game Pokemon Go, where you are just projecting a digital object into your real space and finding it. And in this example, we are utilizing AR to project machine parameters so as to monitor the health of our machine. We will see this example in details in subsequent slides. So before moving further, let us understand the difference between AR and virtual reality or VR. So many of you might have played VR-based games or watched movie using VR glasses. So let us define virtual reality for us using this example only. So while using these wearable, you are inserted inside a digital environment, thus losing touch with your surroundings. VR is utilized for simulating digital environments, whereas in AR, we are bringing digital data to our surroundings. This is the primary reason why AR is gaining pace in various sectors to consume information for informed decision making, which range from marketing to shop floor maintenance activities. Please quit your audio, whoever is having.
Yes, Naman sir, please. Mute.
So need for augmented reality. Augmented reality requirement can be best explained through this example. Most of us use GPS systems for navigation during travel. Here we access data related to travel route on our mobile device and try to apply the same while driving. Between this, somewhere comes decision making. So we are visualizing it and steering the vehicle, which is the decision making part. And here we can experience some of the information lag due to divided vision. More than often it is noticed that we end up taking wrong turns or selecting the incorrect route, thus resulting in added journey time. In those moments, almost all of us wish, what if the same instructions could appear on our window screen itself? Wouldn't it make navigation easier for us? Well, those wishes can be answered with augmented reality. With this technology, digital maps can be overlaid on the windscript and you can look at the map and concentrate on the path ahead simultaneously, thus improving the decision-making process. This and many such applications has paved the way for AR in our lives. Now let's take a look at key capabilities of augmented reality. With AR, the visualization process is enhanced to X-ray level. We can look inside the components, verify design from outer structure to each and every nut bolt it is made up of. You can see internal features and simulate the machine working model in a 3D environment as well. AR systems are also capable of providing step-by-step guidance to the complex procedures that are hard to follow, and the content available to do such exercises is currently available in either readable format or videos. Such content leaves the work of realizing the same procedure in an actual three-dimensional world to the end user, thus making it harder to make it first time right. With AR, this drawback can be eliminated. AR experiences also provide you with the opportunity to interact with the digital devices, operate them on virtual interface, and understand its functionality before implementing the same on actual device. Think of all the machine breakdowns you can save with this feature. As the interaction comes at a higher level with augmented reality. So I have taken this concept from an article published in Harvard Business Review. Now let me demonstrate such an AR experience with the example. So this is an app developed by Harvard Business Review. So as you can see, the machine is appearing in my real environment. Now I can experience this AR. So you can visualize the machine component better. It will also give you certain warnings related to the machine parameters, which are coming directly from the Internet of Things. So now it is moving to the instruct, where you can see how different tools can be used to correct the issue that you're facing. So let's move on to the interaction part, how we can interact with this. So once I initialize this, you can see a robot working in the background. So I can change the speed of operation from here and see how it works. So these are some of the things that you can do using their experience. Let me come back to my presentation. I've compiled some important videos to make you understand a few industries, how they are implementing this technology and what are the benefits they are drawing out of it. So here you have seen that a machine component appeared on directly scanning that.
You're not able to see it.
Sorry, sir.
Share your screen, it's not visible.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's fine. You can carry on.
Sorry, I just went with the flow. So here, while purchasing a shoe, many of times you have wished that you can design its color. So that kind of feature is also available with the AR. You can visualize each and every component and then make a correct decision. So here you have seen that this is the primary difference. So you can see that this person is bringing this tractor model to his real environment. So you are not getting immersed into some digital environment. You are not losing the touch of your reality. At the same time, you can see how well it is fitting in your current scenario. Next is the application for logistic industries. So as you can see, AR is guiding a person on where to go with his AGV. It will also give the correct location plus which material you have to pick from that location. Thus, it is making loading and unloading very easy. And at the same time, it is also aware of your surrounding through real-time data. And based on that, it can give you informed steps to make a correct decision. So this time the operator is using AR to sort the material, like which material to pick, where to place it. So AR will also be scanning the QR codes placed on the material and then helping him decide. Now you see it is also telling him how to avoid the barriers that are in front of him and where exactly to place it inside the cargo. Now here comes the application of AR in navigation. See, it is picking up all the real-time data related to weather, and it is also picking up this person's daily route to office, and at the same time guiding him. So such kind of application in navigation can also help in avoiding accidents. When your concentration is on one side on your mobile device, looking at GPS, and one side on road, then many of the accidents can also happen. So this such kind of applications are achieved by combining AR with vision related technologies. So you are getting some data and information through machine vision that there are some collisions that can occur if you go with the space. So those kind of things are brought in your AR platform, and you can see them in front of you in your actual real environment. So all the time digital information is overlaid over the physical objects. Now again, for work related notification, you don't have to look at your mobile while driving. It can simply appear on your screen. So now this one is a very important case, which is taking the application of augmented reality into the assembling process on a manufacturing floor. So just see, it's very interesting how the light is used to reflect different assembly positions to the operator. So you're getting notification if you're going to wrong location. Easy to locate the next component that you have to assemble and where to assemble it. And at the same time, it is also giving you feedback. So right now he went to the wrong location, so he got the feedback. So this kind of applications are possible only with bringing real-time data into your augmented reality experiences. So right now, all the components all the tools and components that is picking, they are linked to some kind of Internet of Things application from where the data is supplied to AR platforms. So next question that arises in our mind is how we can access such AR experiences. There are two sides to it. First is the medium or device, and the second is feature recognition that triggers an experience. Let's start with understanding the markers that can trigger such applications. So first of all, we have markers or QR codes. So these are very basic things. You can simply scan these markers from your devices and an AR experience will pop up in front of you. Next is object target, or it is also commonly known as model target. Here, your AR application is trying to find out a certain model. If you can see, it is locating this model, and when it is found, it is launching an experience based on that. So next method can be spatial target. In this case, you have your AR experience ready with you. What will happen when you try to launch is it is asking you to place it on a horizontal surface. So it is simply picking up a space in your own surroundings and then placing that object according to your selection. So this kind of features are best utilized by manufacturers of furniture, like IKEA is using such kind of applications to give customers better experience. So they can decide what kind of product that they want to buy, if it fits in their surrounding environment or not, how it looks, and along with several customization options, like you can select the different colors and see how it fits in your reality. And next is image target. Simply, the example that I just shown you is based on image target. There was an image. When my app recognized that image, it launched an experience using which I can interact with it and understand different 3D components. Now, next side is what are the devices using which you can view these experiences. So the most commonly used devices are our smartphones. Simply a smartphone camera, when it scans such kind of targets, it launches the AR experiences. Next is your smart tablets. And I would say the best application that can be utilized by industries are IVRs. Since they give you an hands-free kind of experience, which is better in an industrial environment where you have to look at the instruction, understand them, at the same time you have to perform them as well. So your hands should be free for such applications. So next is, you have seen in the video how the AR experiences are utilized in marketing, logistics. The same kind of experiences can be utilized by manufacturing sector for maintenance, or by service sectors for providing servicing to the different components at inside the plant or at outer location, for example, at customer places. So first thing that you need is CAD model. This is the digital replica of your actual physical system. So you have a machine present at your facility. You can create a CAD model of that machine, and that digital footprint of the machine is what the AR experience will use to overlay the informations. So when this CAD model is combined with Internet of Things data, from where you can get analysis as well as detailed information about a machine's running status. So this is not just providing some static data, it is providing dynamic data on which you can make real-time decisions. So this result in an augmented reality experience that provides you graphical user interface with digital data in user understandable format. So this is the same series. We have an actual machine here. We have the CAD replica of this machine, and based on the CAD replica, we have projected this over the actual machine in 1:1 ratio and utilizing the real-time information. Now, this real-time information is of key value, especially when you are a maintenance or service engineer. And now let's take a look at some of the experiences that we have developed in our facility. So you see here we are scanning a marker, which is called ThinkMarks. Now several experiences will load. So this is again based on real-time data that is coming from a machine, which is just the indicator state. You can get several instructions, whether or how to proceed for these instructions, check different components. It is also locating the exact place in the machine where you have to check these features. Next, the digital information is overlaid. And again, you can see the same steps being performed on your machine in real time. So the case of lagging data and information while performing such steps or while making such decisions is of no consequence when we are using AR experience. Let's take a look at another example. Again, on scanning the marker, several experiences are launching. We have to select the best one for this application. Marker recognizes the machine. It gives the real-time value, temperature value. Some troubleshooting steps will pop up in front of you. Now, if even after performing these steps, you are not able to rectify the problem, then only it will show you further steps on how to assemble or disassemble a particular component from your assembly line. Now the actual model is projected over, digital model is projected over actual machine. You can see a tool, different direction in which you have to rotate it. So these kind of application are where you will be requiring some hands-free devices like Microsoft HoloLens or Google AR glasses, using which you can perform the steps at the same time viewing them. So now you have to just confirm who is the person that has performed this maintenance, and that can again go back to the database, thus completing the feedback cycle that such kind of operation is being performed by such and such operator. So such kind of data you can check in future if any other problem arises in future. So now education is one sector to which you can relate more strongly at present. So 12 years of schooling, considering you are a 3rd or 4th year BTech student, there might be numerous situations where AR could have saved the day for you and increase the level of interest in a particular subject. So with using AR in education sector, you can enhance the content understanding through better visualization. So of course, through all the experiences that I've just shown you, you can see that if a 3D object is appearing in front of you, how better you can understand the concept. And again, you can also interact with that object. You can see what a machine actually looks like. Instead of just reading about in books and going through some videos, won't a 3D model be of better use here? Then you can get exposed to more practical learning. Now, what is the idea behind it? For example, you might have gone through several electrical circuits. You might have constructed some circuits yourself. Now, the issue is if you are doing it wrong, first of all, the components might break down. There might be some situations where your lab assistants will not even allow you in that lab again. So now in such cases, instead of waiting from a nod from your instructor, you can just use an AR experience, construct an electric circuit, and again check it in the app itself. So once it is final that yes, you can make the circuit and you have right information to construct it, you can go ahead and do it on actual instruments. Again, the same is the idea with safe and efficient workplace training. So this can be applied to mechanical machines as well. For example, currently you're sitting at home. Most of the time you have received your lecture in last year through digital platforms. So what happens there is you are not able to interact with the machine, you are not able to understand, and especially in the subject like workshop technology, where you have to look at the several machines like turning centers, milling centers. With these kind of AR applications, you can simply project that machine in your real environment, look at its different components, understand what are the functions of several parts of that machine, and learn from there. So it could have saved a lot of your time and increase your understanding, especially in present scenario. Again, you cannot carry a book everywhere, but your mobile is with you. So such kind of ease of access is provided through AR based contents, which can be delivered to you whenever you want and in whichever surrounding you are present. So based on the same concept, we have made an FSM AR demo app. This is available on Google Play Store as well. So these are some of the setups that present in FSM laboratory, where we provide training to users over these. So how a user can understand this setup even before training. So such kind of application are demonstrating through this app, and I will just share my tablet screen to show you one such demonstration. So you can also sign up to the app if you're a new user. I'll just log in. Now you can select various training kit architecture that is available with us. So let's say I suppose the first one. You can go to which part of the this training kit you want to understand. You want to go to hardware introduction, or you want to see the exploded view of component. So let us first understand the hardware. Again, you can select, you want to go to HMI kit, or you want to understand the controller kit with PLC and edge gateways on all the programming support, or you want to understand the mechanism kit. So let's see, let's start with controller kit. It is asking me for the image target on which this experience is built. So once it has recognized the target, it is projecting the actual kit in my environment. Now I can select the components about which I want to learn. So from here, I can utilize most of the data that is present on the kit components. So it is telling me that this component is NUC, this one is IO-Link master, this one is my IoT gateway, and this is what an Ethernet switch looks like, and here's my PLC, and of course this one is my SMPS. So once I've realized this and understood the component, I can move on to the next step. In the hardware's introduction, let me understand the mechanism kit now. So this is the motion kit. Again, I can click on different components and understand what they are. So this one is my USB camera. This is an ultrasonic sensor. This one is an RFID. So this is how I can see the actual model, understand, and then decide whether such kind of architecture is enough for me to go for any training in Industry 4.0 system. So if I'm happy with that, I can further make decisions related to my education. Now exploded view. So let's say I go to mechanism kit. So if I click on explore, it will show the disassembly instructions of each and every component present in my kit. So as I was telling, you can have an extra vision. So this is one such extra vision. You can see each and every component we disassemble. You can look closely at it, see what are the subcomponents of this assembly. And again, if I click on assemble, all these components will be assembled in front of me. So this is how AR can be leveraged in the applications where you want to learn something. And it can also be used for training in various scenarios, including industries. Let me come back to my slides. So these are some of the AR platforms that are available. In fact, the application that I've just shown you, it is made using Vuforia engine and Unity. So you can produce such standalone apps for you and understand the different components that are present in your college itself. First of all, you just have to realize that what are the key points, what are the bottlenecks, where what are the concepts that you're not understanding, and you can make an AR experience on those concepts and understand it better. So I want to conclude this session on the note that Jarvis is not an imagination anymore. Combine augmented reality with Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, and you can build one for yourself. Now I'll be starting a knowledge check poll based on the information I've just shared with you. So what is augmented reality? Is it a technology that turns physical objects to the digital objects, or the technology that overlays digital information on the top of real world items? Or is it a technology that completely immerses a user in digital environment? Or it is a technology that can achieve human level understanding of images? So most of you have attempted it. I'll just be ending the polling in 4 or 5 seconds. Okay, let's see the result. So most of you have answered correctly that it is a technology that overlays digital objects on the top of real world items. Next question. In your opinion, how do most people use AR currently? So I've launched the polling for this question. So are these computer devices or phones or TVs or AR goggles? I'll be ending polling in next 10 seconds. Again, most of you have answered correctly. Just look around. You don't have to go very far to get the correct answer for this question. See what is the device that is most easily in your reach. It's your smartphone. So yes, the phones are the devices that are commonly used for experiencing augmented reality. Next question, augmented reality cannot be used in below use cases. I'll be opening the poll for this. So is it learning and training, or service and maintenance, or machine intelligence, or design collaboration, or is it sales and marketing? So I'll be closing the poll in next 6-7 seconds. This time you picked it wrong. So in the video itself, it is shown that AR is used for sales and marketing, but it is machine intelligence for which we cannot leverage AR. These are the results. Moving on to the next question. Augmented reality can be tracked using which of the following methods? Let me launch the poll. So is it QR code, model target, images, or all of the above can be utilized? So I'll be closing the poll in next 5 seconds. The correct answer is all of the above. And in this case, most of you have answered it correctly. It's good. You were paying attention while I was going through my slides. And the last question for this session is, augmented reality can be viewed. I'm going to start the poll for it. Only in 3D IVRs, only in tablets, only in mobile devices, only in 2D IVRs, or it can be viewed in all of the above devices. I'll be closing the poll in next 10 seconds. So correct answer is, it can be viewed in all of the above devices. Let me share the result with you. Again, this question is also answered correctly by most of you. So thank you for being such a nice audience, and over to you, Naman sir.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you for the nice session. Thank you, Vishnu, and thank you, Preeti. Both of you did a great job. And I believe the audience enjoyed the session. We
Yes,
would like
thank you, Professor Sunil Jha sir and Vishnu Kumar sir and Preeti ma'am. So it will be very wonderful session, and it will be very useful to the students. And Vishnu Kumar sir explained IoT and difference in between IoT and IIoT, and how they are using in the different multiple platforms in the next coming days, and where we can use the technologies. So also Preeti ma'am explained very clearly how the augmented reality is implementing nowadays in industries, and how they are going, how they are using next level technologies in the industries and education sector. So it will be very interesting session to all the engineering students. I hope it will be very useful to them. maybe we can have some question and answers time. So if they are having any questions, maybe we can answer to them, sir. So I request all the students and faculty members, if you are having any questions, maybe we can send us in chat box. So it will be answering by professor or anyone can answer for your questions. So we are having a few questions here, sir. So, madam, may I know what are the software you have used to develop AR app? Is there any open source platform are available?
Yes, you can use Unity with Vuforia engine. So for trials like student trials, these are free. And we have used both Unity and Vuforia engine plus Vuforia Studio for developing the AR experiences I've shown you.
We are having one more question. Can we use nano materials in smart manufacturing?
Yes, certainly nanomaterials can be used. Material is itself an independent domain, and manufacturing, when we are talking about, is conversion of this raw material into a useful product. So it all depends on the applications. So it's all, smart manufacturing is not restricting any material as such.
Thank you, sir. So, is there any questions, students or faculty members, regarding today's session? So if you are having any questions, please you can put in chat box. So it will be yes.
So before we conclude, may I request all the audience to please turn on their cameras so that we can have a screenshot for the memories.
I request all the faculty members, please turn on your cameras.
Or is it a different certification you are referring right now?
Okay, sir. Thank you once again for Professor Sunil Jha sir, Norman sir, and Preeti ma'am and Vishnu Kumar sir. So thank you for your wonderful session, and thank you for giving your valued time to our all the engineering students. So it will be great opportunity to learn all these emerging technologies. It will be very fruitful session to all our students. Thank you, and thank you once again.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening to everyone. So thank you also.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you
for-
so much.